very robust new network, what steps would need to be taken for somebody like me to evaluate an opportunity there? If somebody stops you on the street and asks you for directions, you're not going to think that they're a horrible person.
Hello, everybody. Today, we're introducing a new format on the Jennifer's channel. We'll cover a lot of interesting topics, so not only stay focused, but also do not forget to subscribe to the channel and follow Jennifer's social media. Links will be down in the description. And for people, a lot of people that will watch this channel already probably know who you are. But for people that may not know who you are, can you tell a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Jennifer Speciale, and I've recently founded my own company, Special Executive Leadership. I spent the majority of my career as an executive recruiter. I was most recently at Amazon, and before that I spent almost 10 years at McKinsey, and before that I was at Indeed.com and Google. So at a certain point, I decided, maybe I can try to ride the bike without holding the handlebars and just focus my career on those things that make me really excited and really bring me joy, which is working very closely one-on-one with people on the job search. I love to really invest time and help people uncover their strengths and the things that give them energy and help them to really design the life that they want. So I spent a lot of time reflecting on what I really wanted, and what I wanted was to go deep with people, not just always be rushing to get the numbers in and pay attention to corporate requirements and things like that. Now I'm working one-on-one with mostly executives to really help them to design their career and find their next role, make a transition to a new industry, or even just find a job if they've been laid off, those kinds of things.
And maybe like for people that are listening, and for me included, like what is executive leadership coach? What do those coaches do?
Yeah. So it typically indicates the level of person that I'm working with, but not always. I do have some people. So executive is typically anyone with 20 to 25 years of experience. I do have some clients that have, 10 years of experience. One has 15 years of experience. And it's very similar format. What we focus on, we might just finesse our strategy. But basically, I'm working with people to really go deep on what it is that will make them feel fulfilled. We spend more time working than doing anything. And so it should not always feel like work. Absolutely. We all have tough days, and we have times that we would like to just lay around and do nothing. I think that's really human. But generally, the goal is to do something you're passionate about and spend time where you feel like you're giving back, and it's also fulfilling for you. So we go deep on what those things are to figure out what will make my clients feel fulfilled, evaluating different industries, and then we go deep on their executive presence, which is everything from how they present their resume or present their portfolio. I work with a lot of design leaders, experienced design leaders. So we have to do a deep dive on their online portfolio to make sure that there are 3 very clear case studies with a clear start and finish, with metrics embedded. And executive presence is making sure that those case studies are really well organized, really well articulated, and that my clients feel confident when they're presenting those. Even their online brand, having a look at all of their social media platforms, all of their branding that they have today, and try to up level all of that and make it, the presenting in the best way that they can be. Sometimes people have their LinkedIn profile and their website and other social media reflecting everything they've ever done, but it doesn't necessarily point in the direction that they want to go. It's just kind of like an inventory of everything that they have done. But I coach my clients that if they're going for something new, if it's a new industry or just a new company, but they're same industry, you have to have all of your background reflect the direction you want to go.
Yeah, and you said that you are working with people with mostly like 25 years of experience. And what do those people like have in common? What are the problems that they are coming to you and they are trying to solve them? Or maybe they don't know the problem and you are trying to understand them. What from those two
Yeah,
people usually come to you?
that's a really good question. I have found that a lot of times as people get more and more senior, they very often become more and more humble. And so they struggle to clearly articulate their professional contribution to separate the I from team. So they'll speak a lot about what they accomplish in terms of we. We had this deliverable, we met these deadlines, we did this. And I have to really help them to focus. If you were hit by a bus and in the hospital, your team may have hit some of those things, but there are many things that would not have been accomplished had you not been there. So I have to really whittle away their concept of team and help them to articulate who they are and what their contributions are. Because to an interviewer, they assume you know yourself best. So you have to articulate those things so that they understand the difference between them hiring you or them hiring your team. So you have to showcase your abilities. And sometimes once people have gotten almost too senior, they lose their own perspective. And I attribute that to their humility and their strong leadership skills, really, just their empathy, their understanding that nobody accomplishes anything just completely on their own. But when you're interviewing and increasing your executive presence, you have to be able to articulate your individual contributions.
Yeah, and for people that now listening to this and they're kind of, yeah, I'm the person with that problem. I need Jennifer to help me right now, or I don't know, I will die or I will hit by a bus, and I need somebody to help me. So what's the process like? So working with you.
So the process is when we first start, we do a real deep dive on what the person wants. What are their goals? And we really articulate that. And as it relates to all facets in their lives, if they're currently consulting, but they're sick of traveling because it's disrupting their family life, then we talk about how to leave consulting. And we put more emphasis on highlighting those things in their background that are fungible, those skills that are transferable from the consulting world to the non-consulting world, because that's something for interviewers, it's very difficult to understand. So you as the candidate, you have to really clearly articulate that. After we have established those goals and we have a very clear direction, then I do a deep dive on the person's resume, LinkedIn profile, and other social media platforms to understand what they've put out there in the world. Do they need a current LinkedIn picture? Or is their resume super outdated? What kind of portfolio do they have? Is it organized, or is it just kind of where they've been sticking their work for a long time? So then we evaluate everything that they've got, all of their sort of all of their tools that they have to present for themselves. And once we work to get all of that in much better shape, then we start to have what I call life design interviews, in essence, coffee chats. So I tell my clients that your next role is not in your immediate network. I think people are so inclined to reach out to their friends, to their network, their closest professional people, all of those people that are warm and friendly and engaging and that they know. But actually, that's not where your next role is. All of the research shows us your next role is many layers out. In fact, what I call the 7th concentric circle. I wrote about it just today on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I saw it there.
And I just use 7 because it's a lucky number in America. But it's to indicate you can't think about your first, your second, even your third level out. keep those people for your emotional support, your high fives that you need, or brainstorming, somebody that you know and trust to put a second pair of eyes on your portfolio and say, how does this read? How does this present? But those people that you don't even know, you haven't even encountered, the stretch goals or the company that you've always had an intellectual crush on but have never applied, start reaching out to those people on LinkedIn in a very prescribed, strategic way. You don't ask them for a job. You don't ask them if there are any openings. You reach out in a very short message and you say you're being intentional about building your network, and ask if they have 15 minutes to connect with you. It's shocking how open and empathetic and caring complete strangers are. And all of my clients are really, really chicken and hesitant and hate this idea at first, but I liken it to stopping and asking somebody for directions. If somebody stops you on the street and asks you for directions, you're not going to think that they're a horrible person. You're just going to tell them how to get there. And this is no different. You're just having conversations to get their stories. What's it like to work at X company? Or how do they feel about AI? How are they using it in their new day-to-day? Whatever it is, and as you learn from them, then you can ask, gosh, I feel more interested in this organization. How could someone like me, what steps would need to be taken for somebody like me to evaluate an opportunity there? You're not asking them if they are hiring. You're not asking them to help you directly. You're just asking the open-ended question of what steps would need to be taken. And that puts your listener in a different frame of mind. They're starting to look at you in a more evaluative way, which is good. That's what you want. And then that helps them to switch gears and maybe think about you for their team, or maybe their team isn't hiring, but maybe another one is. So whatever their answer is, your next question is, who else should I be talking to? And you don't want to say, do you know somebody else I should be talking to? Because it's a closed-ended question. It's so easy to just say no. So you say, who else should I be talking to? And all of these very open-ended questions and this very non-threatening, non-desperate kind of conversation keeps the other person open-minded. And before you know it, you have this very robust new network that's many, many layers out from your original network. And they're all professional. And that's where you're going to find your next role.
Yeah, so I agree with you 100%. I also realize that the higher position the person has, the more probability that they will answer.
Yeah.
And the more probability that they will talk to you. I had multiple people, they just wanted to talk, they just wanted to discuss, they just wanted to build connections. And usually it's younger, the younger person is the less probability that they will answer. Probably some form of kind of shift in perspective on the fact that younger people are, I think they are more likely to talk like via chat rather than just like face to face.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like people should not fear just to write. And what's the worst thing that can happen, right?
They ignore you. So you just keep reaching out to different people.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanna slightly pivot it to I started working with the business coach, and one question that I had that probably people that are working that would want to work with you are asking themselves: do I need to prepare something before our initial conversation, our discovery call, or I can go just completely blank and we will figure it out?
That's such a good question. I love that, because so many of my clients come to me like, I'm not ready for our first session. I need to get really ready. Or even the second session, like we'll have the first meeting, and then the second session, they're really hesitant because they want to get everything perfect before we connect. And I tell them, listen, don't feel like you have to come to me perfect. In fact, that's why we have each other. This is something we do together. You've hired me to help you get over this hurdle. And if you could have done it by yourself, you would have already. But everybody needs somebody to kind of push them, nudge them, encourage them, and even guide them. So to give that kind of feedback, like, the portfolio looks great, but it needs to be more organized. How could they do that? They would have done it on their own if they could have, but they've hired me for a reason. So I'm very, very clear that, this is a journey we go on together. It's part of why I started my own business. I enjoy the journey. I enjoy the messy. If everybody just came to me perfect, I probably wouldn't even need to be doing what I'm doing. But I do it because I can empathize with that need for, I'm stuck. I can't see any strength in myself. I don't feel like I have anything unique. I can't articulate my unique value proposition. And that's why you have me. So it's just starting where you are and then figuring things out as you go along. We do it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanna pivot one more time to the thing that connects us in a strange way is the design thinking, because that's something I work with. That's something that you work with.
Yeah.
So how does executive coach and design thinker are connected? Because I'm not familiar with this kind of thing that can bridge those things together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, design thinking is just the most amazing methodology, and it actually is the perfect methodology for designing your career. Design thinking is the perfect solution for big, ambiguous problems. And being laid off, not having a job, or wanting to change into a different industry, those are big, ambiguous problems. Even if you're very clear on what you want next, you may not know how to get there. That's a big, ambiguous problem, and design thinking is perfect for that. So you start with actionable things. Design thinking is all about bias for action. So you start with those small things that you can take action on, and you do that, and then you start to create ideas. You start to ideate, which is, of course, at the heart of design thinking. You start to think of all of those things that give you energy, give you butterflies. I tell my clients, you are not allowed to dig around on LinkedIn and look at companies like, oh, I should apply there. There's no should. You just blue sky it. You think about everything that makes you happy and fills your belly and just makes you so anxious with happiness. Then you start to prototype. You start to create these little interviews, these little coffee chats, and have those conversations, because sometimes once you have conversations with people, you learn oh God, I always thought I wanted to work for that company, and now I learned how they do design there, or how they believe in, writing code or whatever it is. That doesn't jam with me at all. That's not the kind of environment I would want to be in. So it can really save you time and save you agony. You could go through a whole interview process thinking you're interviewing with your dream company, only to learn that actually it's not your place at all. So design thinking is the perfect way to create a systematic way of moving through your process, and always only thinking about those things that bring you happiness.
And that would be a mistake not to ask you, how do people right now, based on your experience and opinion, should approach AI? Because now you hear AI from every place, everywhere, everywhere you can. But how people can use AI in order for AI to help them in their journey?
Yeah. So I'm a believer. I think that AI is, the opportunity for us to be more efficient, particularly with mundane things. It's exactly what you read about. I use an AI program to help me take notes for my clients. I don't want to miss any detail, and I don't want to be distracted while I'm talking to my client. I want to be very immersed in the conversation, and AI allows me to do that. It takes all the notes, then it creates a summary. I tidy it up and make it what I think is more organized, more palatable, more memorable, and then I send those notes to my client after every meeting. AI in design, I've talked to a lot of my design leaders. Many are saying this is the time to do more with less, And so they're using AI to create wireframes, sometimes even develop prototyping. And it just helps to eliminate some of those more mundane things and helps us to be much more efficient. So I'm a believer. I think it's incredible.
Maybe for people that are listening to this conversation, they would want to work with you, but maybe you can help them with some like tips and tricks that they can implement right now, because the process of working with somebody like you is it's a long process because it's a big problem, right? But what are the maybe small things that they can implement right now? Maybe they can use some framework or anything like that.
Yeah. I think the number one most effective thing is to develop a little spreadsheet and make a list of 10 people today that you find on LinkedIn that are your dream people to work with or to work for. And as you develop that spreadsheet, make sure you've got a column for their name, a column for their LinkedIn profile, and a column for notes where you can keep track of when you reached out to them, what happened in your conversation, and any next steps, such as people that they have suggested you talk to next. Just start making a list of those dream companies or those dream people that you want to work with, and just start. Just schedule 15-minute coffee chats and have those conversations. Just start where you are.
Yeah, that's a absolutely amazing tip, because a lot of people just afraid to do this first step, because the next step is going to be much easier. The first step is most difficult one.
Exactly.
And that's kind of the quick tip. But in a long run, do you have any books that you can recommend for people to read in order for them to kind of to be better at what they are doing, or maybe help in their journey?
Yes, Designing Your Life. In fact, I have my little workbook here by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. It's just such an amazing resource. They have a book there, it's on audiobook, and they have an accompanying workbook, but there are all kinds of other books about how to prototype your life, and you can design for everything. You don't have to go to Stanford and take the class there. You can do it on your own. You know, one of the best things about design thinking is the main tenet is start where you are. Just start and think about those things that will bring you energy and bring you joy, and then just break it down into small, actionable items.
Yeah, and you know what? I just now realized one question that I just need to ask you. A lot of people, even in the field I'm working, and they are developers, when they hear the word design, they think about frames, they think about pixels, and that's not something that people have in their mind, that you can actually design your life. So how would you explain like designing your life to the person that may be thinking the design is just a Figma or just moving the pixels in the Photoshop?
Right. It would be so great if we could just Figma our lives. I think that would save us from making a lot of mistakes. But through design thinking, we also know that failure doesn't have to be another F word. Failure is actually a good thing. It's its own feedback mechanism. So when you do something, or when you try something and you don't get the results that you want, or it doesn't make you happy, or it just doesn't work for some reason, you can either try again, or if you find that it just wasn't right the first time around, that's great. You can go in a different direction. It's all about just trying. Don't feel stuck. Don't believe that you're stuck. There are always options. I think the worst thing ever is to think that there are not options. You always have options, and you just have to, figure out what it is that will give you energy and what will help you to be the most productive, and then start small and start there. Just get going.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe the last question and the broadest one. What do you expect? What do you think will happen in the next 5 years, just in life in general? So what people should, in your opinion, expect, and what they should be prepared for? What do you see based on your experience working with people, with AI, with all these kind of things that are now popping up in the world?
Holy cow! The next 5 years, I hope that we've come back to a peaceful world, and all of these all of the civil strife that's going on in so many different parts of the world, it's calmer. I know a lot of people are worried about the job market. There are so many people that are experiencing layoffs. I think a lot of that will have calmed down. We'll probably be in a big growth mode because a lot of this layoff is a repercussion from overhiring during COVID. I think that in 5 years, generally speaking, I hope that it will be more efficient and just a lot calmer, a lot more peaceful. That's what I hope.
Yeah. I hope for that too, because right now world is a messy place.
Yeah, it really
It's
is.
yeah.
You have to be
So
thankful every day.
yeah. And that was the last question. I really enjoyed talking to you, but that's kind of your episode. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And to everybody, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to all other social media. And bye-bye.